Hello students. Last lecture we have studied the introductory part of server side scripting, that is PHP. Today we are going to complete the remaining introductory part of the same topic, server side scripting, that is PHP. Last lecture we are concluded at few programming languages for server side programming, and that are PHP, Java, JavaScript programming and Python. Today we are going to study PHP. PHP is server side scripting language and a powerful tool for making dynamic and interactive web pages. Now dynamic means web pages are of two types, static and dynamic. Static web pages means size of the web page is fixed, and in dynamic size varies depending on the content. And interactive web page means user as well as server can interact with each other. User provides something, then server reacts something on it. That means both way communication is going on that specific web page, that is known as the interactive web pages. PHP stands for Hypertext Preprocessor. Earlier it was known as personal home pages. Therefore some people may call PHP as personal home pages, but currently its full form is Hypertext Preprocessor. PHP was invented in 1995 and its first version was 1.0, and currently we are using its release number 7.4 from 2018. PHP scripts can only be interpreted on a server that has PHP installed. It uses Apache or XAMPP or WAMP server as an interface. When we have to run the PHP programs, it is essential to install specific server which will support PHP programs, and that servers may be Apache server or XAMPP server or WAMP server. Within these, any one server can be installed on our computer, and then we can run the PHP programs. Today over 20 million websites are using PHP because PHP is widely used, free, simple, efficient, secure, flexible and efficient alternative to competitors such as Microsoft's ASP. Okay, today near about or more than 20 million websites has coded by using PHP due to its various features, and it is one of the best competitor to the Microsoft's ASP. ASP means active server pages, which is mostly used for the web page designing. These are some of the features of the PHP. PHP mainly focuses on server side scripting, which is used to collect form data, generate dynamic page content and send and receive cookies. First of all, let us see the meaning of form data. Generally, when you have to perform anything online, that time you have to fill up this login form. Here you have to provide the username and then password. Whatever the username and password you are providing, depending on that, if it is correct, your login will be successful. Otherwise, you can't log in within that website or within that app. It gets cross-checked by using the PHP. Another example, suppose here entered name is Aramba and its email ID is provided in the next text box, and we submitted that information. After running this program, we will get the output as welcome Aramba. Aramba is the user input data, as well as on the next line we will get your email address is, and then we will get the provided email address. It is one of the best example of collection of form data and using it in the dynamic format. Okay, here by using these two formats, data can be collected from the form, and by using this format, it will display it in the dynamic format. Here, this data, whatever R number and email ID, these two contents are taken by the user and server display it to the user. It is known as the interactive web pages. Got the concept of interactive and form collection? Then one more concept is it send and receive cookies. You may be familiar with the concept of cookies or may not be. Cookies are text files stored on the client computer and they are kept of use tracking purposes. That means these cookies are nothing but the simple text file and used for tracking. PHP transparently supports HTTP cookies. There are 3 steps involved in identifying returning users. First step, server script sends a set of cookies to the browser. For example, name, age or identification number, etc. Then second step, browser stores this information on local machine for future use. And at the last stage, when next time browser sends any request to the web server, then it sends those cookies information to the server and server uses that information to identify the user. This is the working of the cookies. In short, what we can say, cookies is nothing but the temporary variables which gets generated when we open any website. When we open any website, it's regarding fields that gets activated and that fields gets temporarily stored on our machine. And when next time we open the same website, by using that temporary variables or that cookies, that website gets directly loaded on our machine. That is the main use of cookies. Then next topic, there are 3 tools to complete this task. First one is PHP parser, second one is web server, and third one is the web browser. First of all, let's see these two concepts, web server and web browser. You already known with this. In last lecture, we have also gone through the web server, that is the server side environment that runs a scripting language is known as the web server. We already studied it in last lecture. Web server, it is a software application for accessing information on the World Wide Web. When a user requests a web page from a particular website, the web browser retrieves the necessary content from a web server and then displays the page on the user's device. You know different web browsers, Internet Explorer, Mozilla, Google Chrome, Apple, all these are the different web browsers, and by using that different web browsers, you serve the various types of information on the net, that is World Wide Web. And depending on our request, World Wide Web supports or responds to the query, and we can see the various websites. That is the working of the web browser. Now let's see the PHP parser. Now let's start the PHP parser. The word parse means to analyze an object specifically. It is commonly used in computer science to refer to reading program code. That means whatever the different program codes we are writing, all that program gets analyzed by using this parser. A parser is a compiler or interpreter component that breaks data into smaller elements for easy installation into another language like source code. Here two concepts are again new for you, compiler and interpreter. Actually, last year we have studied interpreter deeply, but let's revise it, compiler and interpreter. When we use compiler and interpreter, both tools translates our program into the source code. Source code is nothing but the computer readable program. Whatever the program we are providing, that is not the computer readable, and to translate it into the computer readable, some specific tools are required, and these are the compiler and interpreter. Depending on the language which we are using, compiler or interpreter gets activated. Compilation means the complete program gets loaded on the processor, and then that program gets debugged completely at a time, and whatever the different errors are occurred within that program, that all errors are get displayed on the screen, and we can clear that errors in any sequence. If suppose we are having 10 errors within a program through the compilation, and we cleared only one error, still we can continue the compiling and do the further processing. But interpretation process is somewhat different. Here, though the complete program gets loaded on the processor, it is not converting the complete program into the source code at a time. It debugs the program line by line, and at which position it gets error, it will display that error to the user, and unless and until user clears that error, it will not process further. That is the basic difference in the compiler and the interpreter. By using both tools, our program gets converted into the source code, and through that source code we can easily debug our complete program and get the output. For example, C++, Java or any other languages need to be compiled, while JavaScript and PHP need to be interpreted. Okay. Then web scripts written in scripting languages such as Perl or PHP need to be parsed on the web server so that they can output the correct HTML to a user's browser. Here, these examples are related with the programs. Now, in this concept, whatever the different web scripts are provided on that specific web page, all that gets parsed through the web server. That web scripts may be of Perl. Perl is another web developing language just like PHP. All that get parsed through the web server, and its purpose of parsing is to display the correct HTML output to the user. You can access the PHP program output with a web browser viewing the PHP page through the server. Okay, this is the concept of parser and PHP parser. Okay, we will stop here. Today we completed the introductory part of the server-side programming language. Today again same exercise, list the server-side programming language. In next lecture we will study the features of PHP.